Live well now with Dr. Lauren.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Lauren Powell. I'm a board certified family medicine physician. I'm also known as a culinary doctor. This is another episode of Live Well Now. Listen, I know that there are things that you need to accomplish. I know there's a calling on your life. I know there's people that you need to serve, that you've been called to serve. And in order to do that, you have to have your full health. I know for a fact that you cannot fully do what you're called to do if you're not fully well physically. And so that's what I hope to do for you today, and do for you. Just hold on these series anytime you watch a video. I hope that it's something that just helps you bring your health in direction of better. What I also know is if you want to live better in the future, if you want to have a life where you don't have to take a bunch of medications, if you want to have a life where you can run around with your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids, you can have a quality of life, you can be cognitively sharp, you can have full mobility of your body, you can advance and kind of go with technology and do all these things. That doesn't just happen by happenstance. The decisions that you make now influence how you live later. And so in order to live well later, we have to live well right now. And I don't care where you are in your health journey. If you're someone that's young, you're healthy, you're vibrant, you have no medical problems, if you're someone that has suffered from many medical problems and you take many medications, what you do now determines what your later looks like. So let's make sure that we're making good decisions right now, not just for our current self, but for our future selves. All right. So today we're going to make one of my favorite dishes. We're going to make these sugar-free protein bars. When I say sugar-free, there's no added sugar. So we're not going to be adding any sugar. All the sweetness is going to be coming from natural things like our honey here. Okay, so let's go over our ingredients. Honey, if you can use local honey, that's going to be the best. Honey, you always want to store your honey in glass and not plastic, please, por favor. We're going to be using a nut butter. Now, I'm going to make these bars because I can't eat all these bars, so I'm going to take them to work. So I'm going to use sun butter because I want to avoid any nuts, just because I don't know if anybody at work has any nut allergies, so just to be safe. But you could use peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, any butter. We just want to make sure it has no sugar added, right? Because we're making sugar-free bars. We got some unsalted butter. We got some cinnamon. I've got some nutmeg. I've got some vanilla. I've got an apple. I've got some organic sunflower seeds, unsalted, and I've got some pepitas or pumpkin seeds. I've got some wheat germ. If you haven't cooked with this before, it's going to be super simple. It's going to give our bars some nice body. And then I've got some dried fruit here. This is has lots of fruits in it, and it's just delicious. So it's a really great treat. Again, no added sugar in it. It has peaches, it has plums, it has prunes, it has pears, apples. It's going to be really great for our digestive system as well. So I think that's everything we need. I'm going to be cooking mine in a pan like this. You want to put either a piece of aluminum foil or some parchment paper in the pan, and that's just because it's going to be easier when you take them out and you cut them. It's going to be easier if they're in something so that they easily come out. I'm going to be cooking everything in my Thermomix. My Thermomix, if you follow me on social, you know how much I love this thing because it warms, it cuts, it chops, it mixes, it just does lots of things. You don't have to have one to make this recipe. If you have a mixer, that works. You're going to have to chop some things, and then we're going to have to cook some things on the stove. If you don't have a Thermomix, we're going to have to melt our butter and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. I think I have everything I need. So first thing that we're going to add, we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. My oven is ready to go because I have been planning for this. We have lined our dish. Now, you can use a bigger dish. This is just a basic square pan. You could use a longer rectangle one. Your bars will just be thinner, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, so next, we're going to use 1 apple. I'm going to move, we're going to need oats too. Oats are like the main ingredient in these bars. So I'm just going to move some things to the side here so that I have use of my cutting board. And so it asks for an apple that's cored. So I just like to use my apple chopper. It makes it super easy. I've already washed this. This is a Honeycrisp apple, and you just kind of have to put a little bit of weight on it. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here. And then it's going to do, so I'm going to do 1 apple. You could always do 2 apples. That was kind of a smaller apple, but I am going to be using lots of dried fruit in here, and some of that includes apples. Now it asks for 3 ounces of unsalted butter. Move this off the way. We don't need that. We don't need our core. I'm going to go ahead and kind of cut. And what's good about the Thermomix also is that it weighs, it's a scale. So as I'm adding, it's telling me how much. And it looks like it always is like almost a full stick, but then you've got like one little piece left. Okay, the next is we're going to use 4 ounces of honey. So I have my honey in a jar, glass jar. Yeah, this is my favorite honey. I like this one because I get it at Costco and it's a good price. It's local. The ingredients are clear honey. It says it's wildflower. So you want to know what kind of honey you're getting, what kind of flower it came from. And so when it doesn't say that, what it means, what I learned from a beekeeper, is that they're basically just taking all different types of honey and mixing them together. All right, so we've got 4 ounces of honey going in here. So this is important because this is going to kind of be our sweetener. And just add more right there. Perfect. So I'm going to move this out the way because we don't need it anymore. Next, peanut butter, but any nut butter, we're going to be using our sunflower butter. I'm just going to use my same spoon, 3 ounces here. Sunflower butter, they use it a lot in like the kids' schools and things like that, but gives you the same consistency, same vibe as any kind of nut butter you would use. And we just want 3 ounces. I think that should be it. And now we're going to add about 5 ounces of this dried fruit. Now you could use golden raisins and cranberries if you want. I just like, and that's how I usually make it. I just tried something different by using different dried fruit, and I really liked kind of the texture that this gave. So we're going to do about 5 ounces here. I'm trying to make sure we get a nice mix. It's 5 ounces. Put that last piece in there. And then we've got 1 ounce of our wheat germ. This recipe is sugar-free and gluten-free. As long as you use gluten-free oats. Got our 1 ounce, and then I keep this in the refrigerator, just so you know. Just put that in the refrigerator. And then we've got an ounce of sunflower seeds. I always keep sunflower seeds on hand. Again, like I'll mix them in salads. Again, I'll have friends that come over that are nut-free, so keeping sunflower seeds and pepitas on hand is always a good idea. And then we're going to do 1 ounce of our pepitas or pumpkin seeds. These are also great to get at the farmer's market. These I actually got at the farmer's market. Next, we're going to do a teaspoon of vanilla. Let's shake it up a little bit. And then another teaspoon of ground cinnamon. So I'm going to use my half a teaspooner, so it is nice and dry. So we need a full teaspoon, so we'll do a half and a half. I'm always very generous with my cinnamon because I feel like it's a great way to add flavor. Cinnamon is anti-inflammatory. It's good for your blood pressure. and it doesn't have any sugar in it. And then, oh, I forgot to we are going to need some salt, just a little bit. All right, and for this, you just literally need 1/4 of a teaspoon. So this is a half. I'm going to do half of my half, 4/4. So sea salt, I forgot that ingredient to tell you in the beginning to have on hand. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of your ground nutmeg. So I'm going to do just like a little bit in here. And next we're going to go ahead and chop this. So this is, if you didn't have a Thermomix, you could chop it in your mixer. I'm just gonna let you see what that looks like, nice and chopped. I have that one huge apple chunk that always happens where there's like still one remaining chunk of apple, but I promise you it's okay because it's actually, every time I make these, I leave the apple chunk and someone says, oh, this is a nice chunk of apple that was so good. So I just leave that in there. All right, so now we're gonna cook it. I'm gonna saute this for 10 minutes. So if you didn't have a Thermomix, you could go ahead and saute this on your stove, 10 minutes. And we'll let that go. All right, that means it's all done. Look how that looks. So what we'll want to do is scrape down all the sides so we get all that good stuff. And now we're going to go ahead and add our oats. I like this huge bag I got from Costco for 11 bucks. This thing is huge. We use a lot of oats currently in my home because my kid is on an oatmeal kick. I make these bars often. I put oats in my meatloaf. All right, there we go. 6 ounces of oats. And then we're going to go ahead and let that mix. This is a pretty quick recipe. After we get everything all mixed up, we're going to put it in this pan and we're going to bake it in the oven. And after we bake it, we're going to let it sit because as it cools, when it's cool, it's a lot easier to cut without falling apart. So sometimes I'll just let it sit. I'll put a piece of foil on top after it's cool and I'll let it just kind of sit like that overnight. Sometimes I'll put it in the refrigerator overnight and then cut it in the morning. So let's see how we look. Looks pretty good. What do you think? I'm gonna mix it one more time so we make sure all those oats are evenly in there. And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and transfer it to our pan. Kind of see how this looks. Move our big bag of oats out the way. And our Thermomix lid. Okay. Now let's go ahead and put this in here. Make sure we get it all out. Okay, I think we did a good job. I think we did a good job. So now all we do is spread it on out. We get it in all the corners. Looks good, smells good for sure. Okay, that's it. All right, and this is going in the oven for about 25 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, so just taking this out of the oven. It's nice, it's brown, it smells delicious. We're gonna let it cool, and that's gonna make it a lot easier to cook. We can probably get 12 bars out of here, but yeah, we'll shoot for 12. Let's go ahead and let this cook, cool, and then we'll cut it in a little bit. All right, so the bars have allowed to cool. Normally I would let them cool overnight, but we're all excited. I just want to show you guys what these look like. So we're gonna cut these. These are also great. I make these anytime I have a pregnant friend. I always make these for my pregnant friends because, you know, oats are great for breast milk. And these are good to just have during those nights when you're up late. This is what I was talking about. It's way easier. You just kind of take it out like that. I just kind of want to show you what they look like. Let's get one here. Look how that looks. Perfect amount of sweetness. So they crumbled a little bit, and that's because they could stand to sit for a little bit longer, but just wanted you guys to get a look and look at all that texture.